Right, so this is probably going to be the last bit of speculation, seeing as the spoiler season is right around the corner. How exciting. And also the first sort of win, if you will. So, reading the article about Solana, features Gemini. Shiyana is the Diamond Gemini, the leader of the Gemini, if you will, or Queen of Gemini. And what would you know? Spoiled card, alluring inducement, Shiyana specialization. How awesome is that? We're finally getting our first specialty hero card, if you will. Maybe there'll be some merchant and bard cards down the road, but look at the number. That's what stands out most to me. 215. This card is 215 in the set. The set of 236 cards. There are, say it with me, 25 cards after this in the set. What does that mean? Well, it means that we can have our fingers crossed and hope that this isn't a one-off card, that we'll actually see support for Shiyana in Dusk Till Dawn. And what's the rationale for that? Because we should probably go over that before we actually touch on the card, right? Well, if we take a look at Dynasty, the generic slots, or the generic amount of cards, out of the 246 card total, there was 4, 8, 12, 15. 15 generic cards in Dynasty. Now, I'm not saying this is the norm. We can go ahead and take a look at both Everfest and Crucible as well. Now, in Everfest, it's obviously the counter argument because there was a ginormous amount of generics. Does this really seem like the generic set, Dusk Till Dawn? No, it seems like a very themed, heavy set. And then for Crucible of War, well, we're at the early inception of the game, so we had a lot more just sort of generic. But for Dusk Till Dawn, do we honestly think that there is going to be 21 generics or slightly less? Well, we can do a little bit of mental math. We know for starters that Runechant will be featured, so that's 1 token slot. I don't personally think that Spectral Shield or Soul Shackle will be, so we'll leave it at 1 for now. We've got a bubble, that's 2, and then we have 4 generic equipment that the norm for the set. So between those cards, 6 of the 21 available slots after this card are generic. That we know for most likely sure. So that leaves how many cards? 15. 15 cards that could possibly be Shapeshifter. But there is the more positive aspect to look at, and that's the fact that this is a majestic action card, meaning that if by chance there is any equipment related to Shapeshifter, or even any legendaries, they are going to go before this card. So there is somewhat of a chance that we see proper support for Shapeshifter. I hope to see at least some bits of equipment, right, so we can flesh out some actual usable stuff for Shiyana, as well as hopefully a few other sort of cards to tie together deck construction outside of just yoinking everyone else's specializations and chucking in a handful of generics. I don't think Shiyana needs a huge amount of support, but cards like Alluring Inducement and possibly, hopefully, 6 cards, 1 rare, 1 uncommon, 3 of each, would be fantastic to see. And that still leaves 15 cards for the generic slot. Again, I don't personally think we're going to see a lot of normal generic action cards within Dusk Till Dawn. I presume we'll see Light and Shadow again, but they are usually slotted way before. They're usually slotted after the Light heroes and then the Shadow heroes, if you will. So I assume they'll still be on the low end on the numbering system. But anyway, enough about that. Why don't we actually get into the card? I really hope that I can crack out my Shiyana slab and build a deck. Favorite card at the moment. Okay, so when this attacks, the defending hero reveals their hand. You may choose an attack action card revealed this way. If you do, this becomes the chosen card. Super powerful, straight off the bat. This allows you to essentially yoink a very powerful card from your opponent and use it against them. It's really speaks to the Shapeshifter mirror match. The fact that it's no longer just, use X specializations in your deck, but you can strategically play against your opponent in mental games, that if they hold on to X card at any point, you can launch this and you can use it right against them. It seems like a super fun card, to be honest. But more importantly, the other standout thing, we have Unity, which is a keyword. Now, Unity, when this defends together with a card from hand, create I'm not saying the token, I really can't say it, trust me. I've tried many times. under any number of heroes' control. Now, this last part of Unity is very important. So it says under any number of heroes' control. Personally, I think this keyword is going to function in sort of this sense, where it has when this defends together with a card from hand, create X under any number of heroes' control. And I think that's applicable because if you treat this word, this token, as a sort of shapeshifter token, well then you could use Unity in the sense of a, say, Runeblade. If a Runeblade card had Unity, it would create a Runechant token under any number of heroes' control. All of which are great for, say it with me, group play. Yeah, so again, Dusk Till Dawn is shaping up to sort of branch more into group play, or rather a larger board state of allies, be it cards you summon like the Angels, or potentially other heroes you are now teaming up with for either group play, or hopefully a few sets later, PvE. And the other thing to recognize with this text, if this was a one-off effect, right, they wouldn't stick Unity on it. It would simply say, when this defends, right? Just interject. So, chorus of the Iron Song was spoiled right as I am literally editing this video. So yeah, this card also has Unity, and just as I was trying to point out, it creates a different token. So when this defends together with a card from hand, so that stays the same, create a Courage token, and then again, same under any number of heroes' control. So Unity will be featured heavily within Dusk Till Dawn. I don't know if this is going to be a keyword tied to, say, the light side of things, because Dorinthia is depicted as helping Soul, and then we'll get sort of a different unifying keyword for the shadow side of things, or perhaps just a different mechanic altogether. But it is nice to see that this is a reoccurring keyword, and that it functions as, well, I guessed. It would simply state the effect under this main effect of the card. The fact that they are using Unity as a keyword means that it's either going to be a keyword tied to Shapeshifter, which I doubt, because there can't be a ginormous volume of cards for Shapeshifter in the set, sadly, but it still means that this is going to be a keyword featured throughout Dusk Till Dawn, which makes sense. It's one group of heroes slash villains, depending on your perspective, versus the other heroes or villains, again, depending on the perspective and narrative you hold dear. If you're on the side of Chain and Vizette, or obviously the side of, you like Dorinthia, Oldtime, Lexi, Bolton, and Prism. So it is cool to see that this card represents a lot more than just a card. Okay, it represents the fact that we finally get Shapeshifter support, the hope, if you will, that there are going to be a few more Shapeshifter cards. I'm pretty sure it's not too hard to ask for, again, 6 cards, so leading Shapeshifter from however many before 215 all the way to 221, leaving 15 cards for just generics, 4 for armor again, probably 2 to 3 for tokens, leaving, what, 7, 8 cards as either actions or specialty equipment. I think that's really doable in the set, right? That's a decent speculative thought to have, that we can hope for some more Shapeshifter cards out of a Majestic. At the very least, I'd love to see a legendary pairing for Shiyana, some sort of equipment, right? Altogether, wonderful card to see spoiled. Can't wait for the actual season to start, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we get proper Shiyana support. It doesn't need to be a whole number of cards, because again, we've got all the other specializations to pull from, but just a few niche cards to really set Shiyana as a competitive deck. And this is definitely a step in the right direction. This is a super good effect, a super fun effect that I really want to play around with. And I think if we get full support, I'm going to try and build a Shiyana deck. I need to crack more crew. I need to find a rainbow foil version. Anyway, as usual, let me know your thoughts. What do you want? Do you want to see a bunch of Shiyana cards? I want to see a bunch of Shiyana cards. Hopefully. Yeah.